Hi, and welcome to Teaching Tip Tuesday, brought to you by the Center for Inclusive Teaching and Learning at UWSP. Last week, I summarized some recent thoughts on why learning styles theories seem to have such a stranglehold on popular imagination, along with some general tips on how to help your students deconstruct beliefs that might be impeding their performance. I ended by suggesting that you arrange your course and your assignments to engage students in evidence-based learning strategies that differ from those based on learning styles theories. This week, in our third installment in the Learning Styles series, I'd like to delve into some of those learning strategies. As I go through them, you'll notice that most of them leverage various kinds of repetition and practice. Retrieval practice is a strategy that involves actively recalling information from memory rather than simply reviewing it. This method helps strengthen memory and improve long-term retention, and the more one does it, the stronger the effect. This is the idea of testing in order to learn. The key to retrieval practice is active recall. Instead of rereading notes or textbooks, study time is spent trying to remember concepts and information off the top of one's head. Examples include no-stakes quizzes, pre-tests, student-led reviews, or 3-minute papers in which students write down everything they can remember about a topic. Each of these activities, when paired with comparisons of output to what might be optimal, helps students to identify what they missed and points the way to what they still need to learn or to practice. Next, we have spaced practice. Spaced practice is also known as spaced repetition. It's a learning strategy that involves spreading out study sessions over time rather than cramming everything in all at once in what we call massed practice. Research indicates that 2 short sessions separated by a day or two produce greater gains than the same net time spent in one chunk. This method leverages the brain's ability to retain information more effectively when it's reviewed periodically. You can remember anything indefinitely if you remind yourself about it often enough. The key to success is spacing. Study of the same material must be scheduled at regular intervals. This allows time for the brain to almost forget the material before revisiting it, but not so long that the material is already forgotten and the learning has to occur from scratch. It always involves review and recall. Each session involves reviewing previously learned materials and attempting to recall them, which strengthens the memory and the understanding. This pairs frequent studying with retrieval practice. You can incorporate this into courses by having more frequent small assignments rather than larger one-and-done assignments, and weekly review sessions, especially those led by students, can be beneficial to spacing and retrieval practice. Next, we have interleaving. Interleaving is a study strategy that involves mixing different topics or types of problems within a single study session, rather than focusing on just one subject at a time. This method contrasts with block practice, where students concentrate on one topic before moving on to the next topic. So if you're studying math, instead of doing a full session on just algebra, you might alternate between algebra, geometry, and calculus problems. This approach combines spaced and retrieval practice. It forces a student to constantly adjust their thinking and apply different strategies to different problems or questions, and that strengthens their overall grasp of the material, improving their ability to apply knowledge to novel problems and leading to more long-term retention. As with the other strategies outlined here, there's a lot of review and recall involved in interleaving. You can provide frequent mixed problems. Using cumulative lessons, quizzes, tests, and problem sets can be very useful. The interleaving of different topics forces students to become better at determining how to approach particular problems when they differ in nature, and to recognize what knowledge and skills should be applied in each context. Next, we have elaboration. Elaboration is a learning strategy that involves enhancing the understanding and retention of new information by connecting it to prior knowledge and adding meaningful details. This practice combines interleaving and retrieval practice to expand learning. You can incorporate elaboration into your teaching and assignments in a number of different ways. Connecting to prior knowledge. Elaboration helps learners link new information to what they already know. So you can combine some retrieval practice to activate prior knowledge with relating new concepts to personal experiences, previous lessons, or familiar ideas. You can provide opportunities for learners to explain concepts in their own words and describe them in detail. This process deepens a learner's understanding and makes the information more memorable to them. You can make use of elaborative interrogation. This technique involves asking and answering how and why questions about the material. For example, a student might ask, "Why does this process occur?" and then seek out or generate an explanation that incorporates multiple facets of their prior knowledge. Have students generate their own examples or analogies that relate to new material. This can again help to solidify their understanding. For example, comparing a biological process to familiar everyday activities can make the concepts easier to grasp and easier to remember, especially if the students generate them themselves. You can also have students make their own connections between different pieces of information. This could involve discussion that permits comparing and contrasting concepts, identifying relationships, and integrating ideas from various sources. Finally, let's consider dual coding. Dual coding is a strategy that involves combining verbal and visual information to enhance understanding and retention. This approach is based on the idea that our brains process verbal and visual information through separate channels, and using both channels simultaneously can improve learning outcomes. Dual coding is often mistaken for catering to learning styles, but unlike presenting material in a preferred modality, the gist here is to provide multiple modalities simultaneously. Our brains can then process the information in two different ways. Leveraging multiple senses can increase learning gains. Here are some ways to incorporate this into lessons and studies. You can always use pictures, diagrams, charts in your lectures that mirror what you're saying in your presentation. That's the low-hanging fruit. I would suggest also assigning practice that involves students creating diagrams for complex processes and relationships, as well as adding verbal explanation. That way, students are working through both visual memories and verbal memories. Since catering to students' learning styles is not effective in improving learning, our time is better spent trying to engage learning strategies that have large bodies of empirical support, like retrieval practice, spaced practice, interleaving, elaboration, and dual coding. And that's this week's teaching tip, brought to you by the Center for Inclusive Teaching and Learning here at UWSP. Remember, at CITL, we offer support for course design, learning activities, assessment, and pedagogy. Visit our website to schedule a consultation today.